There is a cardigan sitting in a charity shop in Leicester right now. No one knows who donated it. No one knows how old it is. But if you check the label, a small white tag, navy lettering, it says St. Michael, made in Britain. That cardigan is probably 40 years old, and the stitching is still perfect. Now walk into a Marks & Spencer today, pick up a jumper, feel the fabric. Look at the label, made in Bangladesh, £65, and it'll probably pill after the third wash. Something died inside that company. Something that took a century to build and barely a decade to destroy. This is the story of how Britain's greatest retailer traded its soul for a spreadsheet. In 1884, a Polish refugee named Michael Marks arrived in Leeds with almost nothing. He couldn't speak English properly. He had no money to speak of. What he had was an idea and the courage to back it. He set up a penny bazaar in Leeds Market with a handwritten sign that read, "Don't ask the price, it's a penny." That sign wasn't just clever marketing, it was a philosophy. No tricks, no haggling, no hidden costs, just honest value for working people who'd been swindled enough. When Thomas Spencer joined as partner in 1894, they built that philosophy into a proper business. And what they discovered changed British retail forever. If you gave British manufacturers steady orders and fair prices, they would give you something extraordinary in return. Consistent, reliable, undeniable quality. The St. Michael brand launched in 1928, named after the founder. It became the most trusted label in Britain, not because of advertising, not because of celebrity endorsements, because it was true. A cardigan from M&S didn't just look good in the shop. It looked good 10 years later. The stitching held, the colours stayed, the fabric softened with washing instead of falling apart. By the 1950s, 1 in 3 British families bought their underwear from Marks & Spencer. The company accounted for 30% of all clothing exports from Britain. Entire towns, Leicester for knitwear, Nottingham for lingerie, Lancashire for textiles, were built on M&S contracts. And here's what made it different from every other retailer. M&S didn't just buy from British factories. They invested in them. They sent their own technicians in, funded new machinery, trained workers, built relationships that lasted generations. Walk into any M&S in 1975 and you would find something that seems almost impossible today. Every single item of clothing sourced from Britain, not 90%, not mostly, every single piece. This wasn't a shop, it was a national institution. Through the 80s and into the 90s, M&S seemed untouchable. Pre-tax profits hit £1.2 billion in 1998. The company was worth $14 billion on the stock market, making it Britain's most valuable retailer by a considerable distance. Every high street in Britain had one. For many towns, M&S was the high street, the shop that gave every other business reason to exist nearby. The boardroom believed they had discovered a formula that would last forever. British manufacturing. Steady quality, loyal customers, prices people were willing to pay because they knew the product was worth it. Housewives inspected seams. Men held fabric up to light. Customers weren't passive consumers, they were connoisseurs, and M&S rewarded their scrutiny every single time. What could possibly go wrong? In 1998, as profits soared and the future looked golden, the boardroom made a decision. They looked at their supply chain and saw what accountants always see in such situations. Inefficiency. British factories were expensive. Skilled workers demanded decent wages. Quality control took time. Meanwhile, factories in Morocco, Sri Lanka, and China were offering to produce the same garments for a fraction of the cost. The numbers were compelling. The logic seemed simple. The decision would prove catastrophic. Between 1998 and 2001, M&S began terminating contracts with British suppliers who had worked with them for decades. Factories closed. Towns that had built themselves around M&S orders were left with nothing. The relationships that had taken a century to build were ended in letters that probably took 20 minutes to write. But that wasn't even the real crime. The real crime was that M&S broke the promise. Those overseas factories were not held to St. Michael standards. Quality control was relaxed to hit price targets. The fabric got thinner, the stitching got looser, buttons became plastic instead of real horn. Seams were cut, literally, to shave fractions of pennies from the production cost. Customers noticed immediately. By 2000, complaints were flooding in. Jumpers that pilled after one wash, trousers where the seams split on first wearing, shirts that lost their shape after a fortnight. This wasn't the M&S they trusted. This wasn't St. Michael. This was just stuff. And the company's response? Deny there was a problem. Insist quality had stayed the same. Blame customers for washing incorrectly. The arrogance was breathtaking. At the same moment quality was collapsing, someone in the boardroom decided M&S needed to be fashionable. Out went the classic, reliable designs that generations had trusted. In came fashion consultants, determined to make M&S cool. Lime green cardigans, trousers with zips in inexplicable places, styles that tried desperately to be of the moment, but just looked confused and slightly frightened. The loyal customers, women in their 50s and 60s who had shopped at M&S for decades, walked in and didn't recognize their shop. Everything felt wrong. Too young, too cheap looking, nothing like the M&S they loved. But here's the thing. It also wasn't fashionable enough for actual young people. Teenagers and 20-somethings saw M&S as where their grandparents shopped. No amount of lime green was going to change that cultural reality. M&S had accomplished something remarkable. They had managed to alienate absolutely everyone at the same time. Too dowdy for the young, too trendy for the old. Stuck in the middle with no idea who they were serving or why. Meanwhile, their competitors were evolving with clear purpose. Next understood affordable fashion that actually looked good. Zara mastered fast fashion with genuine style. Even Primark, dirt cheap and cheerfully basic, knew exactly who they were and who they served. M&S had forgotten entirely. And then there was the internet. When Amazon launched in Britain in 1998, M&S barely looked up. When ASOS started selling fashion online in 2000, it was dismissed in the boardroom as a fad that would pass. Their first website was an embarrassment. You couldn't buy clothing online until 2001. And even then, the system was so clunky and unreliable that it almost put people off online shopping entirely. This wasn't just missing a trend. This was ignoring the single biggest shift in retail since the invention of the department store, because the men running the company were in their 60s and had never purchased anything online themselves. They genuinely couldn't imagine that customers would want to buy knickers without touching them first. By the time M&S accepted the reality of e-commerce, they were a decade behind competitors who had been building digital empires while M&S was still designing lime green cardigans. While clothing was collapsing into an identity crisis, something quietly extraordinary was happening on the other side of the building: M&S Food. In the 1990s, M&S Simply Food stores began appearing, smaller format shops focused entirely on premium food. The concept was deceptively clever: take everyday items and make luxury versions of them, sell them at prices that felt indulgent without being truly expensive. A prawn sandwich wasn't just a prawn sandwich. It was carefully selected prawns with just the right Marie Rose sauce on bread that had actual texture and flavour. £4, when a basic version cost £2. And people paid it willingly because the M&S version felt like a treat. The marketing campaign, "This is not just food, this is M&S food," became one of the most successful in British advertising history. That voice turned a chicken Kiev into an event. By 2010, M&S Food was essentially printing money. The margins were extraordinary. While clothing stagnated, food grew relentlessly. M&S opened food halls in train stations, motorway services, and on high streets where the clothing stores had been forced to close. Food kept the entire company alive, but food success couldn't disguise the uncomfortable truth. M&S had become a company living off sandwiches and ready meals, while its original purpose, quality clothing for British families, slowly faded from memory. The 2000s brought crisis after crisis. In 2016, M&S fell out of the FTSE 100 for the first time since the index launched in 1984. For a company that had been Britain's most valuable retailer, the symbolism was devastating. Store closures accelerated. The shops that had been part of British towns for a century disappeared one by one. Between 2016 and 2020, over 100 stores closed. Each one felt like a small death for the communities left behind. Not just the lost jobs, but the loss of something that had been woven into local life for generations. New chief executives arrived regularly, each promising transformation, each armed with business language about customer focus and digital integration and fashion credibility. Nothing worked, because the problem wasn't strategy. The problem was that M&S had lost its identity and had no idea how to find it again. They weren't sure what they stood for anymore. Beyond being, as one industry analyst put it, that shop your parents used. Then came 2020 and the pandemic, and with it a moment of brutal clarity. The old world was gone. The high street model was dying. Customer loyalty couldn't be assumed. Digital was not the future. It was already the present, and M&S was still arriving late to a party that had been going for 20 years. Under Chief Executive Steve Rowe, M&S finally accepted reality. More store closures, thousands of redundancies, real investment in online systems and logistics, a partnership with Ocado to deliver food online. Every decision prioritized survival over sentiment, and something started working. By 2022, M&S was profitable again. The online operation was functioning properly. The food business remained formidable. Even clothing had found a kind of stability, not exciting, but solid. In 2023, M&S rejoined the AFTSE 100. The share price recovered. Analysts declared the turnaround complete. M&S had survived when many had predicted collapse. So has M&S regained its soul? That's the honest question. And the honest answer is not really. The company is successful again, profitable, efficient, reasonably good at digital. The kind of business that satisfies shareholders and reads well in an annual report. But walk into an M&S today. The quality is acceptable. The prices are reasonable. The clothing will probably last a couple of winters if you treat it carefully. It's fine, and fine is not what M&S used to be. The St. Michael label that once meant your cardigan would outlast your career now means it will probably outlast its first birthday. The Made in Britain promise is gone forever. Those factories are closed. Those skills are lost. The knowledge held by workers who spent their entire careers perfecting a specific seam or a particular knit, that knowledge died with the contracts. The relationship between a great retailer and great manufacturers that took a century to build was destroyed in less than a decade. And perhaps the saddest part? M&S probably had no choice. Stay loyal to British manufacturing and die slowly, unable to compete on price, or survive by becoming just another retailer. They chose survival, and Britain lost something precious in the process, not just a shop, but a living example of what we used to believe in. Quality over cheapness, things that last over things you throw away. The idea that it was possible to make something properly, sell it honestly, and build a business that an entire nation could be proud of. M&S saved the company, but killed what made it matter. And somewhere in a charity shop in Leicester, there is still a St. Michael cardigan from 1975. Still perfect, still waiting for someone to understand what they're holding. Do you remember shopping at M&S back when it actually meant something? Your first school uniform, the food hall as a Friday treat, a jumper your mother bought that you still have somewhere.